Maya blinked at the screen. The photo took a second to register, not because it was shocking in itself, but because of who wasn't in it. A wedding, draped in soft golden light. Alina, beaming in white chiffon. Bridesmaids linked arm in arm. Except there were only 5, not 6, not Maya. Her name wasn't tagged, not even a mention, just likes, thousands of them. The comments were full of hearts and hashtags, and the illusion of perfect friendship. But for Maya, the absence was louder than any scream. It wasn't the photo itself, it was what it meant. She hadn't been forgotten. She'd been erased. They used to joke they'd grow old together, 2 loud girls from college who once snuck into back doors of parties and took turns crying over boys. Alina had been the louder of the 2, the one who always made herself the main character. Maya didn't mind back then. She liked being the quiet observer, the one who remembered birthdays, covered for mistakes, knew all the secrets. But now, the silence weighed heavy. There was no text, no explanation, no apology, not even a ghost of acknowledgement. Just the digital remains of a friendship cut out like a tumor. But Maya didn't cry. She closed the app, muted the laughter from her own memories, and stared blankly at the wall. Her fingers tapped against her thigh, not nervously, but rhythmically, calculating. People who burn bridges don't expect you to build a new one behind them, especially not one lined with mines. She didn't block Alina. That would have been too loud, too obvious. Instead, she watched. Quietly, she scrolled through photos of bachelorettes, honeymoon hashtags, florals, and first dances. There was a peace in studying her, like a stranger peeling back every layer to expose the rot. The more she looked, the more it became clear. The betrayal wasn't an accident. Alina hadn't forgotten her. She'd outgrown her, or thought she had. Maya didn't react publicly. She liked it better that way, kept her dangerous. Every word, every smile, every harmless memory began to reassemble in her mind like shards of glass forming a weapon. The weekend trip where Alina accidentally let Maya sleep on the floor. The confession she spilled after one too many glasses of wine about sleeping with their friend's boyfriend. The lie she told about Maya losing her internship through bad attitude, all repackaged now, wrapped in clarity. None of it had been harmless. So Maya got to work. First came the research. The venue was easy to find. Alina had tagged it a dozen times. A vineyard estate just outside the city, wrapped in misty hills and overpriced petals. Maya booked it. Same day. 1 year later, a small vow renewal. She told the manager, the lie sliding off her tongue like silk. No need for a groom. No need for guests. Not yet. She moved quietly, created a dummy Instagram page, followed Alina's cousin, liked her stylist's posts, subscribed to her wedding planner's blog. She kept herself just close enough to see, just far enough not to be seen. From her shadows, she watched the cracks widen. Alina's husband, Theo, so charming in photos, less careful in comment sections. A like on a coworker's bikini pic, a comment under a late-night edit. Maya screenshotted everything, cataloged, waited, and then it came like a thread slipping from a sweater. Theo's offhand comment at a bar overhead by a mutual acquaintance. Something about how he'd only married Alina because of her father's company shares. Something about keeping options open. It was too good to be true, but it was real. Maya confirmed it. DMs, old screenshots, timestamps. Enough to make a mess. Enough to make it public, but she didn't send it. Not yet. That would be too easy. Instead, she sent an invitation, printed on thick linen cardstock. Simple, elegant. A celebration of love and clarity. Same place, same time, no return address. But Alina would know. She couldn't resist. Not knowing. Curiosity was her weakness. The day arrived wrapped in late spring air. Guests milled about in confusion, some of Alina's old circle, some new ones. Maya had extended invitations selectively, just enough to replicate the crowd from Alina's original wedding. She smiled, hosting without speaking, watching the nerves grow as Alina walked through the archway. Dressed in pastel silk, gripping, Theo's hand tighter than she needed to. Alina's smile faltered when she saw Maya. Just a flicker, then returned like a mask slipping back into place. Didn't expect to see you, she said lightly, but Maya only tilted her head. You never do, she replied, and turned to her guests. There was no dramatic speech, no microphone or glass clinking toast. Instead, a photo appeared on the projector, one of Alina's own wedding shots. Laughter, veils, vows. Then, the next slide. A screenshot. Theo's DM. Another slide. A time-stamped email. Texts between him and someone named Mel. One by one, the illusions peeled back. Maya said nothing. She didn't need to. The silence filled the space louder than any voice. Alina looked around, faces turning toward her, some whispering, others quietly excusing themselves. Theo tried to speak, but Maya raised one finger, and another slide appeared. His signature on a prenup he didn't know Maya had seen. It was done. Not loud, not violent, just clean, precise. Alina's world cracked, not in a bang but in the hush that followed. She stood still, unable to move, watching years of curation dissolve into nothing. People left. Quietly. No hugs, no tears, just the soft click of shoes on stone and the weight of discomfort trailing behind them. Maya didn't stay to watch. She turned before the last slide faded and walked out through the back garden. The sky was beginning to change colors, but she didn't look up. She didn't post about it. Didn't smile. Didn't even keep the projector. She let it all go like it had never mattered. The people who'd hurt you didn't deserve your rage, just your absence. And that was the sweetest part. The silence that followed. It didn't hit her at once. The betrayal was quiet, slow, a bruise blooming under the surface before the pain ever registered. For weeks, Maya had told herself it was a mistake, some glitch of timing or planning, an accidental omission. But the smiling photos said otherwise. There was no room for doubt, not anymore. Alina hadn't forgotten to invite her. She had chosen not to. Still, Maya said nothing. She kept attending the office parties, the brunches with mutual friends. She kept liking the photos, replying to texts. On the outside, her life went on untouched. But inside, a calculation began. She started tracing back, following the ripples. Left behind by moments she had dismissed, jokes that now cut deeper, smiles that suddenly looked smug, and silences that seemed intentional. The memories she once treasured now played with a cold detachment, as though she were studying them under a microscope. Maya remembered how, during finals week, Alina had insisted on switching their presentation groups, claiming it was more efficient. At the time, Maya hadn't thought much of it until she learned Alina had joined the professor's favorite students, or how she'd always known too much about Maya's personal life, always ready with a comforting word, even before Maya had shared the pain. What once felt like intuition now seemed like calculation. There had been signs, not dramatic ones, just patterns, subtle but persistent. Alina knew when to laugh and when to feign concern. She excelled at performance, at being the friend everyone adored. Maya had always been quieter, more grounded, too trusting to question what lay behind those perfect lashes and curated empathy. But the illusion was fracturing. The threads of truth began to pull apart in her mind, and behind every memory was the same grin, the same manipulation disguised as affection. It wasn't just the missing invitation, it was the message behind it. Maya had broken up with Nathan 4 months ago, a slow and painful separation from a relationship she once thought was solid. The timing had been odd, messy. Nathan had pulled away suddenly, citing stress. And then, weeks later, Alina's engagement had been announced. At the time, Maya had been too consumed by heartbreak to connect the dots. But now, those dots burned like constellations drawn in hindsight. Nathan had always found Alina amusing, always laughed harder at her jokes than Maya's. They'd hugged along at gatherings. And now, looking at the wedding album, Maya saw the truth. Nathan hadn't drifted, he'd been pulled. Alina had ensured the overlap was clean, one life discarded just before she claimed it. And that silence afterward, the kind that stretched to long without explanation, wasn't awkwardness. It was intent. That was the final break, the moment Maya felt everything she believed about their friendship snap. The betrayal wasn't passive. It was crafted. There was no accidental exclusion, no overlooked invite or lost connection. Alina had wanted Maya gone, not just from the wedding, but from the narrative, from her new, curated, better life. But Maya didn't scream. She didn't cry. The rage that might have come to someone else arrived in her as quiet resolve. A stillness settled into her chest. She became clinical, detached. Her hurt didn't fade. It calcified, sharp and unflinching. She didn't need confrontation. She needed a plan. Maya understood something that Alina never would. Real vengeance doesn't come from chaos. It comes from discipline, from precision. She didn't need to expose Alina to the world. She needed to make her expose herself. Slowly, quietly. So Maya started with the blueprint. Not for revenge in the cinematic sense, no slash tires or dramatic confrontations, but something much colder. She mapped out everything: mutual contacts, key dates, social media patterns, emotional triggers. Alina was still too confident, still unaware. That made her sloppy, predictable, and predictability was fatal. Every message Maya sent in their group chat was calculated. Every heart she left on Alina's posts, every casual comment under shared memories, it was all bait. She didn't block. She didn't distance. She stayed exactly where Alina expected her to be. And behind that friendly front, she built the foundation of something Alina would never see coming. No one heard Maya's threat. That was the beauty of it. There were no ultimatums, no burned bridges, just a cold promise whispered in silence. I'm still here, I'm watching, and I haven't forgotten. Maya didn't want to be remembered as the girl who lost her best friend to betrayal. She wanted to be the story Alina would never be able to tell. A ghost standing in the ruins of her perfect life. A presence behind every unraveling secret. And when it was time, Alina would realize she hadn't just pushed Maya away, she had invited her in. To the front row of her downfall. The first time Maya noticed something was off, it wasn't loud. It was a text buried deep in a conversation thread she'd stopped scrolling through months ago. It was Alina who had sent it. A casual question that now struck with surgical precision. You and Nathan okay? Just checking in. It had arrived the same day Nathan canceled their weekend trip. Maya had chalked it up to concern at the time. Now, it glowed like a red flag in digital dust. She started digging quietly, methodically. Old messages, tagged. Photos, timestamps. The clues had always been there, camouflaged in smiles and sympathy. Alina had always known more than she should. And Maya, caught in the comfort of a lifelong friendship, had handed her every weapon. The further she dug, the more the mask slipped. Messages that once seemed innocent now pulsed with double meaning. A funny story about running into Nathan at the gym. A sudden obsession with his favorite band. Maya read them all, now with detachment. Her heartbreak hadn't just been witnessed. It had been choreographed. Alina had been watching it unravel while carefully taking her place. Maya didn't cry. She didn't confront. She cataloged. And with each revelation, the plan began to form, not all at once, but like a bruise darkening beneath the skin. Every memory she touched turned brittle and sharp. The weekend Alina insisted on staying over during Maya's fight with Nathan. She wasn't being supportive. She was positioning herself. The time she pushed Maya to go to her cousin's wedding, alone? Nathan had posted a story from the city that same weekend. Alone, supposedly. Alina hadn't just betrayed her. She'd performed it, played the role of friend so convincingly that Maya had never questioned the applause. But the lies were layered, and now that Maya saw them, she couldn't unsee. Every "I love you" text from Alina after Nathan left felt like acid. Comfort offered with one hand while the other rewrote Maya's place in the story. Still, Maya kept silent. Alina was too comfortable, too sure she had gotten away with it. Her online life radiated perfection: candid kisses with Nathan, anniversary, captions, brunches with matching sunglasses and filtered sunsets. Maya watched every update, every curated moment, not out of longing, but calculation. Each post was another entry into her ledger. The more Alina flaunted, the more leverage Maya collected. She knew Alina would never look back. People who steal don't expect the victim to watch. That made her sloppy, predictable. Maya used that, not to scream, but to set the stage. 1 year from the date of Alina's wedding, Maya booked the same venue. She didn't need guests, just a reason. A vow renewal, she told the staff. Elegant, intimate. The date was open. So was the guest list. Maya made sure of that. She knew Alina checked in on her occasionally. She wanted her to find it. Curiosity was a sharper hook than revenge, but Maya didn't rush. A plan like this required patience, precision. She studied their lives from a safe distance. She watched for the cracks, the arguments Alina tried to cover with couple selfies, the pauses in Nathan's online engagement, the slow vanishing of mutual friends from their comment threads, a fight over finances, a missed anniversary dinner, a change in tone. Small things, but Maya noticed them all. She wasn't rushing toward revenge. She was crafting it. Every detail had purpose. Every message she left unanswered, every casual like on their anniversary photo, every silence, it all served the larger scheme. She wanted them to feel untouchable. Until they weren't, the blueprint took shape in her mind like a living organism. Not chaos, collapse. She didn't want Alina to suffer dramatically. She wanted her to unravel. She wanted each thread to pull the next slowly, relentlessly, until everything she'd stolen coiled back like a whip. Maya studied their circle, planned the guest list for her event, noted who had drifted from Alina over time. She knew who'd show up out of curiosity, who'd speak in whispers when the truth finally cracked open. The story had already begun. They just didn't know they were in it. On the day she mailed the first invitation, Maya smiled, not from anger, but from control. She no longer needed revenge to scream. It was quiet now, steady, waiting. The venue was secured. The date circled. The final act approaching like a storm you watch from inside a locked house. Alina had planned a life built on another woman's ruins. She would never see the foundation crumbling. Not until it collapsed on top of her. Alina couldn't help herself. The vow renewal announcement came in the form of a carefully filtered photo, her hand resting atop Ryan's, ring sparkling beneath the caption, "Can't wait to say I still do." It was meant to provoke envy, but to Maya, it was a signal flare. Alina had drawn attention back to the beginning, and that was her mistake. Maya had been waiting, patient as ever, but this post gave her something concrete: a public date, a stage, and an invitation to strike. The comment section buzzed with congratulations. Maya watched silently, her plan clicking into place with one smug post. Alina thought she was untouchable, parading her happiness without suspecting she'd just handed Maya the final thread. Then came the message. Untraceable. No sender. Just words. Ryan never stopped. Check. His hotel points. Maya didn't blink. She didn't need confirmation to believe it, but she sought it anyway. Within hours, she had access to the account. There they were. Weekly stays under a different city name. A pattern hidden in plain sight. The truth was uglier than expected, but Maya welcomed it. The cracks in Alina's perfect picture were no longer theoretical. They were breaking through the paint. The more she dug, the more the mask shattered. One of the women even messaged Maya directly, tentative, confused. He said he was separated. The woman had pictures, receipts, voice messages. He hadn't been careful. Alina hadn't suspected. Maya smiled, not with joy, but with the satisfaction of a plant growing teeth. She didn't rush. Every message was saved, every lie cataloged. From flirty DMs to recorded calls, Maya assembled it all, neatly organized, time-stamped, and unarguable. This was no emotional outburst. It was war waged in silence. She turned her evidence into a digital dossier, backed up thrice, locked and ready. Each file wasn't just a record, it was a fuse. With the arsenal prepared, Maya made her final move. The venue, Alina's precious site of rebirth, was still available for that same date. Maya booked it. No fanfare, no announcement. Just one name on the paperwork. Hers.it would be the last name Alina expected to see again. It would be the one she would never forget. Everything was timed to perfection. Hours before the ceremony, Alina received the email. No message, just links. A silent Dropbox labeled only with her maiden name. It opened to files, images, recordings. The truth laid bare in chronological order. The same man she clung to so proudly, exposed by the same woman she betrayed without hesitation. The silence between Maya and Alina had lasted over a year, but this digital whisper was louder than any confrontation. There were no threats, no explanations, just the truth delivered cold. The preparations were already underway when Alina saw it. Flowers being arranged, guests arriving. Her dress zipped, her face painted, but her eyes didn't lie. They scanned the room, not for Ryan, but for answers, for cracks. She looked beautiful, but fragile. Everyone assumed it was nerves. Maya knew better. As Alina stepped toward the aisle, Maya wasn't there to see her. She didn't need to be. The damage had been planted deep. Her footsteps echoed through a hall now haunted by doubt. Every smile, every nod Alina wore them, like armor that no longer fit. The question was no longer whether she would walk the aisle. It was whether she would survive what waited at the end. And Ryan, he was there too, visibly composed, but not prepared. Maya had made sure that some of the files had reached him as well. A timed text, an anonymous tip, enough to crack the surface without shattering the whole facade. She didn't want an explosion. She wanted erosion, a collapse from within. Maya stayed away that day, letting the storm she built drift in without her shadow. From a distance, she watched as rumors began to swirl, as Alina's curated life started to fold at the seams. Whispers began before the music even stopped. A guest left early. A bridesmaid looked shaken. Something was wrong, but no one could name it. That was the beauty of it. The collapse had already begun, invisible to most but suffocating to the one who mattered. Alina would never be able to trace it. No trail, no confrontation, just a silence that hung heavier than words ever could. And Maya, she didn't celebrate. She didn't toast to vengeance. She simply closed her laptop, stood in the quiet of her apartment, and breathed. She had once walked down that same aisle, believing in forever. Alina would walk away from it too, but not the same. She walked down the aisle once smiling. This time, she'd walk away shattered. The morning sunlight filtered through the lavish suite as Alina reached for the small, unmarked package resting on her vanity. No card, no return address, just an envelope carefully sealed. She tore it open, still basking in the glow of the day she'd long anticipated, expecting a last-minute gift or a heartfelt note. Instead, she pulled out a stack of printed photographs, each one colder than the last. Ryan's smile pressed against someone else's shoulder. A hotel room door with a date stamped below. Screenshots of texts unedited and undeniable. A voice recording that ended with, "She'll never know." Alina blinked once, twice. Her breath caught in her throat, but the knock on the door reminded her of the time. Hair, makeup, guests arriving. She slid the envelope into a drawer, locked it, and forced a smile. But her hands trembled as they touched the fabric of her gown. Downstairs, Ryan sensed something was wrong the moment she walked in. Her steps were just a touch too sharp, her smile brittle. They were alone for only a minute when she leaned close enough for him to hear, her voice a whisper made of knives. "How long were you going to lie to me?" His response was immediate, defensive, stumbling. "What are you talking about?" But she wasn't giving him the answer. She wanted to watch him squirm for it. "You should have deleted the texts. And the hotel receipts." He went pale. For the first time in years, Ryan looked afraid of her. His rehearsed vows forgotten, his composure cracking like ice beneath weight. "Who sent them?" he asked, like it mattered. But she didn't answer. She wanted him to sweat. Upstairs, The music was still playing. Guests waited, whispering as time ticked. The ceremony was 10 minutes late, then 20. Bridesmaids traded anxious glances. No one knew what was happening, only that the bride hadn't returned from her private moment, and the groom looked like he'd seen a ghost. Whispers started. An aunt left her seat to find someone. A photographer lowered his camera, and just as the discomfort became collective, the doors opened not for Alina, but for someone they hadn't seen in over a year. Maya. No one had expected her. No one had even thought to look. Yet there she was, dressed not to overshadow, but to haunt. Calm, composed, her heels didn't click, her expression didn't shift. She moved like someone who already knew how the day would end. She didn't need to say a word. Alina saw her from across the courtyard and froze. Maya didn't approach. She didn't yell. She didn't demand an audience. She simply took her place like this had always been hers, and in many ways it had been. Then the staff began to move, one by one. The floral arch came down. The aisle runner was rolled up. Waiters removed champagne flutes and replaced them with cocktail trays. Confused murmurs rippled through the room, but the decorators didn't falter. They flipped the setting like they'd rehearsed it. Because they had, banners unfurled, gold script on white linen. Fresh starts, a divorce celebration. Ryan shouted something. Alina tried to stop it, but the staff ignored her. The venue had been booked under a different name, Maya's name, and the event planner followed her lead. As the sign came into view, Alina's world spun. The realization hit her in waves. Maya hadn't just come to witness her day. She had orchestrated it. Every chair, every flower, every glass of wine. This wasn't sabotage. It was takeover. Guests began to ask questions. Some left in awkward silence. Others stayed, curiosity outweighing loyalty. The irony was too thick to ignore. The same venue, the same guest list now flipped in tone, in purpose, in power. Maya made her way to the center of the courtyard and picked up a glass. Her eyes found Alina's across the chaos. She didn't need to speak. Her gaze said everything. You buried me to stand here. I just dug myself out beneath your feet. She raised her glass. Slowly, deliberately, Alina's breath caught, but Maya didn't smirk. She didn't gloat. She simply nodded once, turned to face the crowd, and sipped. That was all, and with that single act, she delivered the message louder than words ever could. This was never about stealing back the spotlight, it was about taking back the story. She'd been erased from the wedding. She just rewrote the ending. The silence in the courthouse was thick the day Ryan filed for divorce. Not because of the act itself, breakups were common in their world, but because of who had done it. Ryan, the once devoted groom, was the one to end it. The news spread faster than wildfire, and soon, what had been whispered suspicions exploded into public fascination. The media latched on, the blogs churned, and the headline was too irresistible to ignore. The picture-perfect couple that cracked. From within, Alina didn't see it coming. She believed that after the embarrassment of the ceremony that never was, she still held the upper hand. She thought silence meant safety, but Ryan's signature on those papers said otherwise. The spotlight she used to crave now scorched her. The curated fairy tale dissolved into public record, cold, clinical, final. Her perfect world collapsed, not with screams, but with ink on parchment, and it wasn't just the divorce that did it. Photos emerged, not from Maya, never from Maya, but from someone who'd once been trusted. Images of Alina in places she shouldn't have been. Messages she thought she deleted resurfaced. People she dismissed returned, this time with receipts. Her fall was no longer a whisper, it was spectacle. The woman who used to command rooms now barely held eye contact with herself. Mirrors told a different story. The eyes were tired, the posture defensive. She wasn't admired anymore. She was analyzed. Still, Maya said nothing, while the world tore into Alina, dissecting the lies and the illusions. Maya didn't gloat. She rose in silence. A new job in a better firm. New people. Ones who valued presence over pretense. She wasn't chasing status anymore, she was building something real. Her energy shifted. People noticed. They talked about her, but not the way they once had. Not as the girl who lost her fiancé or got erased from a wedding, but as the woman who came back without needing to announce it. Her power wasn't in the words she spoke, but the ones she withheld. She never posted cryptic quotes, never subtweeted, never gave interviews or shared her side. She didn't need to. The truth had already taken root, and it spoke louder than she ever could. Every silence became a statement. Every step forward made noise without sound, and while others might have taken satisfaction in public payback, Maya understood something deeper. Revenge wasn't fire. It was stillness. It was control. She didn't push Alina to fall. She didn't sabotage or smear. She simply stopped holding up the mask Alina had relied on. She let the lights shine where they were supposed to, and the shadows did the rest. People saw it now. Alina hadn't been wronged. She had been revealed. The empire she'd built on deception crumbled with no one left to defend it. Friends distanced themselves. Business contacts stopped calling. Even Ryan, in his own flawed way, was seeking redemption. But Maya, she didn't need apologies. She didn't need revenge in flames. She had peace, because what they all failed to understand was that Maya had never wanted revenge. She wanted clarity. And when that arrived, it didn't come with screaming or spectacle. It came with freedom. So when someone asked her, months later, how she felt seeing everything unfold without lifting a finger, she smiled once and said nothing, because revenge isn't about rage. It's about reminding them, I never needed to raise my voice to end your silence.